Hello there. This time I will be very short because there isn't much to say. You're being fantastic. The previous video went even better than the previous ones. So, what can I say? Thank you very much. And now I don't want to let you keep waiting. Let's start with today's episode. Now it's finally time for the last endings before going to the specific endings for each character. These are going to be ending A and B. We are going to do both in the same run because they're actually achievable both in the same run. You will understand later. But anyways, for these two last endings I decided to take the last character that I still didn't try, Ragedagavalder. So, who is Ragnavaldr? Basically, Ragnavaldr is a man originating from the kingdom of Oligard, and the most important thing is that his father taught him how to fight, and one day they decided to travel across the sea in order to find more resources and food. They arrived into the continent of Vinland, where there were gods never seen before. And of course everyone started roaming everything they could and started getting resources, and actually Ragnavaldr, dependently from our choices of course, would have done the same, getting a bad omen if we miss the coin flip, and eventually getting panphobia, the fear of everything. I've never explored fear in my run, but basically what they do is they increase the damage you take from certain creatures, and with panphobia all the creatures in the game are gonna deal more damage to you. But anyways, regardless of the coin flip, once we go back to Ulegard, our family and our people have been attacked by an army of mercenary. There were a few living ones, at least some soon-to-be dead people, that were able to tell you that the army of mercenary responsible for this was the Knights of the Midnight Sun, commanded by Legard. And so Ragnavaldr swore on his family that he would have killed Legard, and so he traveled to the dungeon in search for him. And so we start. Okay, I gotta say, we already know all the basics of the game at this point. I mean, we already did the majority of the normal endings, so I'll just skip a little bit. I'm just doing the usuals. I take stuff from the barrels. I'm gonna try to take the biggest amount of empty scrolls possible, because they will be very useful in the future. You know, the empty scrolls can, for those who don't know, give you literally almost all the items in the game as long as you have a quill in your inventory. You don't even have to have a quill for each empty scroll, you just need one overall. And so we arrive in the caves, we collect Moonless. I think at one point I also went back into the basement in order to talk to Kahara, because this time, unlike the previous time, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to check the other episodes I did on Fear and Anger. We are going to get it as a party member. But anyways, we've got our Moonless, and now it's time to start with our plan. Let me explain. There is another character, recruitable, that I hid from all my previous runs, even if I did met him, but I didn't meet the conditions to collect him as a party member, and so I just decided to cut it in order to not spoil it for some people. But now I think it's finally time to use it. I mean, we are at the last endings of the normal game, why shouldn't we try to get it? And so, the first thing to do is to talk to the Yellow Mage. And by doing some very specific actions about talking about the gods that he serves, we are going to be able to collect the Eclipse Talisman. Oh, and also, Yellow Mage is gonna use Hurting on Moonless. Well, it could have been me, so I'm feeling pretty confident for now. Also at this point I decided to use a bone saw in order to saw off the other paw from Moonless. Both because it gives me the Moonless paw, which is an accessory that increases your critical rate, and also because now when we walk, Moonless is just gonna scratch his head on the floor basically, and it just makes me laugh. But now let's go back to serious business for a second. So, unexpectedly, I reached Legard very soon. In fact, he was still alive. I was there, in front of the man that supposedly killed my whole family and all my people. I was there. I just needed to use my axe and chop off his head. Just one single swing and it's over. I can leave the dungeon and I can forget everything about this and just go away. But I don't know, something in his face was quite familiar. Actually, let me explain. I found a little girl in the dungeon, and she had such an innocent face, I wouldn't have been able to kill her even if she was evil. But it's strange. Lagarde has a very similar expression. I don't know why. For now, I'm not gonna kill it. Of course, I'm not gonna reveal my intentions, but I'm really curious about this dungeon. I really want to see more. Not all days you're able to explore a full dungeon, and also, this place feels strange. I can feel something very strange coming from deep in the dungeon. I want to go deeper. And anyways, using Lagarde as a meat shield is way more cruel than just killing him on the spot, so that still counts. And while I was going around exploring, unfortunately, Moonless died because of the elite guard. That was pretty sad actually. Moonless was a very valid party member, having 2 turns by default, so I was feeling a little bit sad, but luckily my sadness was quickly removed because I was finally able to get Kahara as a party member. I was really excited because he is actually my favorite character at the moment, and if I remember correctly, he knows by default the ability Steal, so we're able to steal from the enemies now. Also, Darcy was finally rescued and now we had the full party. Me, Lagarde, Kahara and Darcy. I swear at one point I want to kill Lagarde, but for now he's doing something, so I don't think why I should. But actually, you know what? I do have an ability called Pheromones obtained through Sylvian God, and I actually got it because I just wanted to explore more the Sylvian spells in the Hexen, which is basically, as you may remember, the old god of fertility and prosperity. And Pheromones actually makes one of your party members the most targetable one from the enemies. So I decided something, why not fighting the Crow Mauler and using Pheromones on Lagarde? So, we should be able to kill the Crow Mauler and get a very powerful soul and a powerful weapon, while also killing Lagarde in the process. Yeah, of course the prophetized man doesn't die, and we kill the Crow Mauler. This type of luck never happened in all my other runs. But anyways, I guess I cannot be mad about that. So, we take the Cube of the Depths from the Cave Dweller City, and this is a very important step to do for our secret party member. And now, it's the moment in which we purposefully kill Lagarde. Now all the pieces are assembled. It's time to go back to the corridor. Yeah, the corridor. The one in which there is the elevator that brings you to the caves. In this corridor, there is a secret. If you interact with the corpses that are on the boards, you will actually be able to find something. It's a flying head that apparently was sleeping there in order to recover or something. But as you may notice, it's a flying head! It doesn't have a body. And regardless of that, it's alive. He is not so happy for what we did. I mean, for waking him up. And so, well, I'll let you see. The very first time I found this enemy, I was scared. If you wait actually all the turns, I mean you can try to attack him, but I think it has infinite health, because apparently he's immortal. The monster behind it will keep coming closer, until eventually you know what happens. But now we had the Eclipse Talisman, we had the Cube of the Depths, we had everything to get it. By just giving the correct responses, basically you just have to say that you want to be one of his disciples. He's gonna join you, because he has a dream. He wants both to teach you something and to crush the new gods in Mahabur. And so we get our immortal party member, Najra. At this point I just took some time in order to do some basic stuff. I killed the Cave Mother and then used the Gnome Axe to kill the Salmon Snake, and I think I got the Salmon Snake soul in order to prevent limb losses from my party members. Also, now that I have a better understanding on the map, I went back into the big tree, the thicket, and I collected the Eastern Sword. And also, I destroyed one of the organs. It's actually in the last level before dropping down to the catacombs near Lagarde, and it's gonna be needed for the endings. Also, destroy the organ in the catacombs near Lagarde. That's very important. There is a total of 3 organs in the dungeon, and we just destroyed 2 of them. We're only missing 1. But now, I think it's finally time to officially enter Mahabur. You'll know how the city is structured, sort of, but there is a room that I on purpose didn't show you. And I think, now that we want more knowledge and that we want to go deeper, is the perfect moment to get to. If you follow the shadow people, you're going to reach a very special room. Very simple room with just a book, and by interacting with it, I got so scared. I was in the middle of a hall. I was surrounded by these gigantic, majestic creatures. They were all new gods. Apparently they didn't want to fight, and they gave me 3 wishes. Actually, 3 words. 3 things that I could ask about from all the things existent that they know of. I decided to save before entering in this room by using a Book of Enlightenment. And so now we have infinite words. Let's start, shall we? I of course started by asking about Lagarde, the very man for which I entered the dungeon itself. And they weren't sure about where the prophecy started, but surely they said he had an important role in the greater scheme of things. Then I asked about another creature that I met inside the dungeon, the pocket cat, but their answer was terrifying. A servant of the trickster god, the moon. Apparently another old god, and not even these new gods understand his mysterious ways. What is the pocket cat? What is he doing in the dungeon? I mean, he's trying to get the girl. What is so special about the girl? But now I had a new keyword, trickster, and so I asked about the trickster god, also known as the moon god, one of the last older gods to still observe mankind. Apparently a very selfish old god. He doesn't want the prosperation of anyone, either gods or humans. Now that I was a little bit more informed about the pocket cat and the moon god, I wanted to ask about the girl. And once again, I couldn't believe my ears. Apparently, she is the daughter of a new god and the prophetized man, Lagarde. What? What? If Lagarde already is the prophetized man, then the union between him and the new god can just create something even stronger and important. But I had to stay calm. After all, I was in the presence of a lot of new gods. And then I started nominating the new gods that I knew, Voltaire, Francois, Chambara, and Nilvain. But on Nilvain especially, I was once again astonished. She believes in Lagarde, she believes in the humankind. She believes Lagarde is the key to the new existence. Could potentially be that the girl is the daughter of Nilvain and Lagarde. I also asked about Nosramus, which apparently was the 5th one, the forgotten one of the pilgrims that became the new gods after ascending, and supposedly he understood the true nature of the greater scheme of things and refused his ascension. Still, what is this greater scheme of things? What's so important about it? I was more confused than anything. I spent much more time. I don't even know how much. Was it days? Was it years? Honestly, thinking about it now, probably If someone said it was just a single second, I could have believed him. But after everything, I realized at this point I was unable to gain the true knowledge to understand all completely. And so I exited that room forever. With all this new knowledge, I continued my journey. Eventually, I was able to reach Voltail, and as you may already understand, I killed him very easily. We didn't even lost a single party member. I'm not gonna lose anyone else, I swear. Until, unfortunately, we reached the Tormented Temple. I had to make a choice. I had to decide who to sacrifice. And reluctantly, I decided to sacrifice Kahara. I felt so bad, but unfortunately, Darcy was much stronger than Kahara, and if my calculations are correct, we're gonna deal with enemies much stronger going forward. I'm sorry, Kahara. And then I reached the dream world, in which I was able to see the past of all the other people that I met inside the dungeon. And also my own. I hoped I would have never seen those memories again. My people, scattered on the ground, bleeding. No. I felt a little bit grateful of being able to see this again. I felt like this was one of the reasons that kept me living, fulfilling my role. I already fulfilled my role by killing Lagarde, but I felt there was something more that I could do. There was something more that I could do for all the people in the world. I felt like I could do my part in the greater scheme of things. And eventually, in the dream, Nilvain decided to talk to me. She probably doesn't know I killed her husband, but regardless of that, she told me to take the girl and bring her to the altar of darkness. Was that the way in which I could achieve something for the whole humanity? Was that the way in which the humanity would have been able to progress over the new gods? I still don't know. But now I had access to the final building in Mahabre with the 3 souls of the new gods. And I didn't care about Francois. I didn't care about becoming a god. I wanted something else. And so I destroyed the last organ present inside the building and went back into the Cave Dweller city. And as I reached the big creature sleeping in the city, its mouth was open. The creature was dead. The entrance to the altar of darkness was accessible. And so it begins my final travel in the Gauntlet. This place is a nightmare. You have to pay attention to everything around you, even more than in the rest of the dungeon. This is like a dungeon version of the dungeon itself. All the rest was just child's play. The enemies are a nightmare. All of them are basically much stronger than their counterparts in the normal dungeon and do way more damage. And also there are a lot more traps. A lot more traps that can kill you instantly. And also, I found the most scariest thing I could have ever found in the dungeon. After seeing it, the achievement of killing the Crow Mauler seemed to me just a child's play. This is the real monster that is following me. Then there are also spike puzzles, where you have to time perfectly your movements or you just die. And the poison traps, you have to pay attention to where you stand, otherwise you're just gonna get poisoned. But eventually, not easily, I was able to reach an even deeper zone in the dungeon, level 9. The floor was terrifying. It was just full of dead people. They resembled a lot the human hydra that was present inside the dungeon, but this was way terrifying. Why are all these people gathered here? What is this place? And so, while I looked through the darkness, trying to see something, I saw something. But thinking about that, I hoped to immediately forget that thing with all my strength and just pretend this was a bad dream. I was standing in front of the traces of Grogoroth. And apparently Nashra was very angry with him. Nashra wanted to kill the traces of Grogoroth, but the traces instantly killed Nashra. What? Are you joking? Do I have any chance against the traces of Grogoroth, an old god that literally insta-killed an immortal man? Is this really my role in the greater scheme of things? Is this really what I have to do? Is it gonna change something for the humanity? Regardless of that, I needed more preparation. I went back, and unfortunately in the process Darcy died, but at this point, if you're able to achieve something by defeating the traces of Grogoroth, her sacrifice wouldn't be vain. And so, I took the necromancy spell and collected 2 skeletons, and also I created a marriage with a goal. Now our party was once again ready to try and face the traces of Grogoroth. This fight was a nightmare. He basically cast Sentence on a party member, which is basically an insta-kill that requires more turns. While in the process, his big arms can deal more than half health in just one single swing, and all the eyes have individual attacks on each of them, and also AoE. He's gonna do a lot of damage. But eventually, with a lot of luck, which I guess is needed in order to defeat one of the old gods all by yourself. I mean, 4 people, but 4 against an old god, which is not even actually an old god after all, it's the traces, but still an old god, it's required. Even though a little bit of strategy was in the process. I imagined, if he is maybe poisonable or set to fire, maybe since he has high HP, he's gonna take a lot of damage, because poison is percentage damage. So I just tried, and it worked. I was able to deal massive damage, and eventually he fell. We won, but there was something strange. He didn't actually disappear. No. I was a fool. There is no way we are able to kill an old god, not even if it's just the traces of it. But why it's just the traces? I wanted to know more, and so I asked directly to him. He said all gods abandoned humanity since a long time ago. The reason was that it was impossible to find the true shape of emotions, which is the exact thing from which the old gods were created, among humanity, because humanity has distorted shapes of those emotions, of true fear, for example. And he asked me if I wanted a glimpse of it. And I said yes. I was a fool. I'm just a man. I'm not able to handle that. And so my body collapsed. I never escaped the dungeon. And my role in the greater scheme of things was useless. Was this really the end? Was this really what I was destined to do? Was this really how I'm gonna reach my family? By failing without doing anything? No. No. This is not it. I still have something that I can do. I still have something that I can accomplish. For me, for my death to count something. I was able to go back to take the girl. She is the daughter of my biggest enemy, my biggest hated person in the world. But regardless of that, I made a promise, and maybe this is gonna change something. I went back there, but something was off. Something was very strange. The traces of Grogoroth weren't appearing. Did I really change something? Was there something more? Was there something deeper in the dungeon? But as I was wondering that, the girl started doing something strange. I knew She wasn't the girl I knew anymore. She was becoming another thing. She wasn't a normal girl. Inside of her, there is the soul of the Ancient One. And I was assisting to the birth of a new god. She slowly passed from form to form in a complex process of transformation. But I really couldn't handle that. That was even worse than the little glimpse that the traces of Grogroth showed to me about the true expression of fear. I just collapsed. I was still alive. And I felt I reached one of the deepest parts of the dungeon, level 10. There was this new god, just created from the body of the girl. It started saying something, and I could barely understand what it was saying. It talked about stop resisting, that I already knew I wouldn't have been able to leave the dungeon once I entered through it. Yeah, that was my destiny, right? But at least the god promised me a death without pain, without any sort of pain. And so, it was over. I did my part, right? I don't know if this really changed something in the greater scheme of things, but now, once I'll be able to join with my family again, I will be able to tell them that I was the responsible for the birth of the god of fear and hunger.